Thursday Night Tailgate, where the spotlight is always on the positive. Tune in Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time to hear your favorite NFL legends, players, and coaches sharing their stories. Now back to Chris and Bob.
I wouldn't joke about anything else that happens here tonight.
All right, now back in making his 8th appearance with us here on Thursday Night Tailgate is former defensive back and TNT Hall of Famer Vencie Glenn. Let me remind you about Vencie's background. He is from Grambling, Louisiana, played his college ball at Indiana State, where he holds the school record for career interceptions with 17 and the record for the longest interception return for a touchdown of 100 yards, which he did versus Wayne State back in 1984. In 85, he was named first-team All-American for Division I AA, as well as a first-team All-Missouri Valley Conference. That year, he was also named Missouri Valley Conference Defensive Player of the Year. He was inducted into the Indiana State Hall of Fame back in 1999. He was a second-round draft pick by the New England Patriots in 1986, and he played defensive back in the league from 86 to 1995 with the Patriots, Chargers, Vikings, and Giants. Over the course of his career, he had 642 tackles, 35 interceptions, recovered 9 fumbles, and he scored 3 touchdowns. And I've shared this story many times, and it's particularly appropriate right now because here we are in Masters Week. And for those of you who haven't heard the story before, back in 2016, I had the privilege of walking the grounds of Augusta National with Vencie. And Vencie was a wonderful player in the league, for a decade. He's a big Nike guy. He's good friends with Tiger Woods and his family. And if you have the privilege of being around Vencie for any amount of time, you become drawn to him, like we've been, because he's so real and he's so great to be around. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that, when we walked Augusta National, we couldn't go 10 yards without someone giving Vencie a hug or shaking his hand. And at one point, I said to Vencie, Vencie, you know everybody. And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, no, Chris, everybody knows me. Good evening, Vencie. How are you, my friend? Vencie, are you with us?
Sorry, Chris. I'm here. How you doing, pal? You cracked me up, man. Thanks for the introduction. I'm good, guys.
Great. So, Vencie, since it is Masters Week, and for those who haven't heard the story before, talk about how do you know Tiger Woods?
I met Tiger, it was 97. And it was 97. And MJ was in town. It was right after he retired for the last time. And we were playing golf. It was me, Michael, and Ahmad, I believe. And, it was Ahmad. And we were playing in San Diego at Aviar. And Mike said, come on up and play. So I came up and played. But I didn't know Tiger was playing. I just thought it was him and Ahmad. And I get there, I'm on the driving range, the dog, and all of a sudden I look up. And I see this little skinny kid come walking up. And I just said, wow, that's Tiger Woods. Because I've been around all the celebrities, all the athletes, and Michael Jordan was on top of the world then. But here's this little kid that I've been watching on TV for a while, and he's here right here in front of me, and I'll never forget, we're walking down the first fairway, and he makes a comment about, isn't this great just out here, outdoors, doing what you love to do? To do on the ground. And I'm like, I don't know about you, pal, but, man, I've been sitting out in grass in the morning doing tour days. It ain't that. I don't look at it like that, but that's the way golfers looked at it. It was just totally different. And I was like, okay. And then after I got to know him, and then he came back a month later for the Buick in San Diego. And we just became close, and it's evolved over the years.
And Vencie, are you surprised at all where the state of his game is at right now, based on where he was just 6 months, a year ago?
I always say this, Chris. Great athletes, I don't care what sport it is. If it's ping pong, I don't care what it is. If you can practice your trait, you're going to always be good. That's why Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player can still hit a golf ball straight. Maybe not as far because they don't have the speed. But if Tiger can practice, he's going to play well. That was the whole thing, his whole his whole comeback. He was never healthy. It was the short-term kind of fixes, And he finally got the one surgery nobody wants to have because nobody wants to get cut on. And he had been under the knife enough, I'm sure. So that was a tough decision. It was a good one. It was the right one. And, and it's just a one-step process. And if he can practice, and like he has been, he's going to be able to play and be good. It wasn't like it was a fluke he won so many tournaments and 14 majors because he's good. And that's what happens when you're good. If you can practice, you're going to find a way.
And so let's switch it over to football. And you played in San Diego for 5 years. You've lived there for a long time. Last season was the first year since 1961 that San Diego didn't have a team. And the Chargers had a very difficult time selling out a 20,000-seat soccer stadium in L.A. Do you think the fans in L.A. will eventually embrace them, or do you think the L.A. experiment is going to end badly and they are going to need to move somewhere else, whether it's back to San Diego or to who knows where?
It'd be all speculation, Chris. It's just my opinion. But, just kind of understanding football and the market and understanding LA sports, period. I think that they've been behind the 8 ball, the Chargers. They've put themselves in a position where they're always going to be second fiddler to an LA team because the Rams have been there before. They have some kind of a base there. That's where they started. So it's kind of easy to get back on that on that wagon, But the Rams are also doing something that the Chargers aren't doing. They're getting quality players, and they're winning. And that's what you have to do. I don't care what league it is or what sport it is. You have to win. And they're going out and putting in the money and the players that's going to come in and help them try to win the championship. And they're going to be the favorite. They're building a new stadium in L.A. The L.A. Rams are. The Chargers are written. So, you're always going to play this catch-up. And if you're not winning and you don't have a product, because once Phillip Rivers leaves, which is in a year or so, who is their marquee player? They don't have one. So you go out and draft a quarterback to get a big-name quarterback, and you really don't like paying nobody. And you don't know how long you're going to be in that city and what's really going to happen. So, it's still an organization, I think, that's always going to be one step. They're going to always be reacting instead of being proactive.
Bob, questions for Vencie?
It's always a pleasure to speak with you, Vince. And after another season's in the books, I wanted to get your opinion on just the defensive back play in the league as it goes on year to year. I'm sure you saw a lot of the plays toward the end of the year, Vince, a lot of missed tackles, a lot of it's just such a physical game. And I don't know, Vince, if you would agree if these guys are not as good fundamentally coming out of school. They're gifted physically, but compared to guys that play with yourself and everything, I want you to get your opinion on when you watch a week end of football, what are you seeing as far as defensive back play in this league right now?
It's not very good at all, I don't think. I think there are some guys, but as a whole, a group, I don't think the play of the league is good, but I don't think that's what the league really wants. Mm-hmm. Let me give you a prime example of the way I see defensive backs nowadays. First of all, you can't touch or hit anybody. You just can't. It's just so. And then now the catch rule has finally been kind of identified. So the game's always changing for defensive backs. And that's very hard. They throw the ball 40 times a game. You can't take out your aggression and be physical on receivers. The receivers always talk because they know you can't hit them. And then when you do hit them hard enough, whether you hit them legally or not, they're going to throw a flag. So you're always on the defense mode. Like, okay, man, I can't hit them. What do I do? I can't touch them. I can't hit them. What do I do? So it's kind of like, how do I be a defensive back? When I learned the game in college, being physical on the line of scrimmage, being able to do certain things, and then I get to the highest level, and it's like I can't even touch a guy that runs a 4.2 40, and always yakking, and they're throwing it 40 times a game, and I got to cover this. So it's kind of an unfairness to defensive backs. But at the same time, the league is taking away the physicality of the game. And then that's where you are. And so you have DBs that you may have one guy or a couple guys on the team that may be physical, but everybody else just don't have that mentality. And the more you can't be physical, you become unphysical. I don't care what sport it is, you know. And so here, and the way the league has done it, it is not just by calling penalties and things like that, but they've done it by not letting you hit in training camp. We had 2 days for a month almost, and we're hitting every day. We're training. We're putting our bodies in gladiator mode so we can endure the 16 weeks. But when you run around and it's 7-on-7 every day and nobody touches you, you go home and get in your incubators and your saunas and your jacuzzi and your massages, and it's like a health club just trying to keep your body looking good instead of training your body. That's like an MMA fighter going in and never wrestling before the match. What is that? Your body's not even trained to the first blow of full force it gets. You know, and so it's kind of a catch-22. You know, you take it away where you can't practice and you can't hit. So what do you do? How do you work on a technique if you can't be physical at it? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, think about absolutely. It. It's like it's telling a home run guy to bunt the ball all the time and then get up there and say swing away. Man, I've been bunting the last 100 times. How do I swing away? So it's kind of difficult for a position, but that's the way the league wants it. And so you just got to learn to adapt. And I guess coaches are a little more lenient on guys missing tackles and things like that because of, you know, the same thing happened on the other side of the ball.
You mentioned the 2-a-days, Vencie. That led to my next question. Around this time, back when you were playing, first week of April or whatever, in your off seasons, give us a typical day of how you would be spending it.
Man, you're talking about 20 years ago. I can't remember last week.
First workouts.
Let me see. I had a routine. I didn't. After the season, I didn't do anything till March 15th. Yeah. February, end of January, where whenever the season's over, I'm a fat duck. I don't do nothing. I don't run. I don't jog. I don't walk fast. I don't move fast. None of that. It's just a recool. And then March is more about getting my body in after March 15th for the next month, April, just getting my body in conditioning shape to get through minicamp. So I don't go out there and, you know, pull a hamstring or something, but be in good shape because, you know, you're going to get tested on your conditioning and all that just to be in good shape and just be ready to run, you know, and that's what DBs always did. So I was just always in shape, just ready to run, you know, in minicamp and then go back and kind of see what you're working with that year. But you kind of already know what you're working with, you know, a couple new guys and stuff. But after that, you just go get prepared physically to be ready to go through training. You know, we went to training camp, like the 10th of July, something like that. And it's on, you know, and the first game isn't until August, so you're sitting there 3 weeks and battling, going at it, you know, and I mean going at it. So it was different, man. You know, they say these guys are bigger, stronger, and faster, but you know, I missed 2 games in 10 years. You know, these guys average missing 5 a year and making $8-9 million a year. It's been like, wow. So it's a different breed, you know, but that's the way the game is. That's the way you evolve with it, and you just got to learn to play. But there are a lot of guys out there that are real physical every game, and they know how to play within the rules and be physical. And I would have kind of seen myself as one of those kind of guys. I'd be physical. I'd still get it done. You know, you got the Ed Bears, you got Cam Chancellor, you got some safeties and stuff out there that still play the game the way it's supposed to be played. But, you know, as a group, the NFL is not the same.
Vencie, just a couple more before we let you go. But I'm curious, who was the best defensive coordinator you ever played for?
I got to be honest with you, man. Every team I played on, I played for a great defense. I played for a very, very good defensive coordinator. I had Ron Lynn in San Diego. I had Tony Dungy, obviously, in Minnesota. The Giants, I had Mike Nolan. I thought he was very good, you know. And in New Orleans, I had, I think his name was Sidwell. But Dom Capers was my defensive back coach. So I've always been around minded coaches, you know, and Jim Moore was my position coach here in San Diego. And then Tony Dungy was my coordinator in Minnesota. So Jim Moore Jr. here in San Diego. So I've always been around some very, very, very good defensive coordinator. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think no defense I ever played on, I know, unless it was the only time was when I was in the Giants. We were always in the top 15 in the league, or, you know, top 12. I never played on. I played on 2 number 1 defenses in my 10 years in Minnesota and New Orleans in '91. So that was pretty good.
Yes, it was.
So, but I'd say to answer the question, I'd say Tony Dungy, obviously.
Vencie, remind our listeners what you're doing now.
Woo! Like I say, you know, I got my own little nickel and dime, little marketing and branding company out here in San Diego, just trying to get some business drummed up. You know me, man. But you know, I just going on the grind like every other person in the world, just trying to make it happen. But got good things, got some good partners going around. You know, the Breeders' Cup is one of my main partners that I do business with on a yearly basis, and hopefully I'm in the process of bringing Levi's and Marquee Media on board this year to do some cool things. So, but I'm also going to be doing I'm trying to work with the league in some kind of way, and maybe we can do some events together out here in San Diego and just kind of keep football alive out here. So I like to be able to do something like that out here in San Diego. But other than that, man, I'm just on the grind every day. You know, I'm not on social media, Facebook. That's about the only place you can get me. I don't do the Twitter or the Instagram thing, but I love being on your show. But the biggest thing, I didn't know I'd been on 8 times. Like after 10,
yeah.
Not let me on again. Do I get like you get to 10? You got they tired of you?
We'll keep having you back as long as you'll keep coming back, my friend.
Man, I love coming back, man, and I'll see you in a couple months. I'll be down for War Duns again, so I'll definitely give you a shout when I get in town.
I appreciate you, Vencie. Thanks so much for your time tonight. You're not only one of our favorite guests, but you're one of our favorite people. We love you, and we can't thank you enough for all you've meant to us over the years.
You know, I appreciate you, and Thursday Night Tailgate I just think it's a marvelous show, what you guys do, and one of these days we're going to become business partners, too, more than just friends, Chris. I appreciate your friendship, but some kind of way, I'm going to find a way we can work together, and look forward to that.
I look forward to that day. Take care, Vince. All the best to you and your family.
Okay,
we'll catch up again soon.
Yep, you guys be good. Take care.
Take care.
See ya. That's former defensive back Vencie Glenn. We've got our next guest, Tony Collins, hanging on the line. We're going to get to Tony after this quick station break.